I'm Officer Harold Eley, and welcome to Behind the Badge. Today on Behind the Badge, we have the privilege of being at the executive offices of the police department and meeting with the head of our company, Chief James Fox. Chief Fox, welcome to Behind the Badge.
Thank you, Harold.
Now, you better than anybody else in this organization, Chief Fox, understands that policing is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. And measuring how that operation functions is sometimes difficult. So I thought today, to help our viewers understand a little bit more about the organization, to get a close-up look at the organization, that we could discuss our 5 strategic goals and how we work to meet those goals.
That's great. I'm always excited to talk about what our police department's doing.
All right, Chief. But before we do that, I'm sure that our audience can see, looking around the room, that there are some symbols here. And one of them that I see is a giraffe. Would you mind talking to us a little bit about that giraffe?
Well, many people have heard me speak at various meetings in the city, and a lot of people have been to my office. And if you come into my office, you'll see my giraffes. Many of them have been given to me by people that have heard my story. I brought a book with me when I came to the department in 2004, and it was entitled, "I've Always Looked Up to Giraffes." And it's become a symbol of leadership within our police department because, you know, giraffes stand head and shoulders above the crowd, and I think our police department does that. We stand tall. We can reach things that other organizations can't reach. We can eat the fresh fruit because we're standing tall. Giraffes are a symbol of friendship in Africa, and surely we want our police department to be that symbol of friendship. Giraffes have great vision. They can see a person a mile away. They have a huge heart. Their heart is almost as big as an elephant's heart, and a very caring animal. And 2 ingredients that we want in our police department. We want to have big hearts and care about people that we serve. They're aggressive. They can kick in 4 different directions. They can get places in short periods of time. All leadership principles that we value here in the police department. One of the things that they do that I wouldn't suggest to people is they only sleep about 30 minutes a day. Sometimes I think we in policing only get a chance to sleep short periods of time. But the giraffe has become a symbol of leadership in the department, and I actually have a leadership coin that has a giraffe on it that I give to people within the agency and outside the agency that do things that shows leadership. Leadership is very important for the police department, so I think it's a great symbol.
Yes, sir, definitely. And you also mentioned vision. So why don't we talk for a second about our very first goal, and that is fighting crime. And the good news is, Chief, crime is down in Newport News, and it continues to go down. So would you talk a little bit about your vision on crime fighting and why you think our crime rate continues to go down?
Harold, you're referring to our strategic plan and our strategic goals. You know, like any large company, we have to have a vision and know where we're going and know what we need to do to get there. Without a vision, we're not going to accomplish what we need to accomplish as a police organization. And our number 1 goal is fighting crime and reducing crime. And as of just this week, compared to this time last year, we're 4% down compared to last year. And we've reduced crime about 19% since 2004. Our homicides would be in single digits if it wasn't for just recent quadruple homicide that was an awful tragedy in our city. So we've made achievements in the area of violent crime. We've made achievements when it comes to fighting the gang activities, and taking major gangs off the street has helped us to reduce violent crime, has helped us reduce fear and intimidation in our communities. We've got a great police department, and we've got a lot of men and women that are full of enthusiasm and excitement to do their job, to make this a great and safe city. But I also thank the public, thank the community, the churches, the business community, the citizens for what they're doing as part of our team to help us continue to reduce crime. And that's our number 1 goal, making this a safe city, a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to visit.
Yes, sir. And you just mentioned the community. And part of our goals is to partner with the community. So would you talk maybe for a second about how we partner with the community and what some of our partners, who some of those partners are?
And that's a very great point. Our number 2 goal is partnerships, community outreach. We acknowledge that we can't do the job by ourselves. A police department's no better than what a community wants. And our community wants great policing and a good police department. And they have that. But we need the community to be a part of the team. I'm out 2 and 3 nights a week at churches, civic groups, schools, talking to groups, and we have hundreds of other officers that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. Letting the community know what's going on in their community, telling them and discussing with them ways that they can help us, where we can work together. We have citizens police academies. We have youth academies. We have an outreach center on Warwick Avenue that is like a museum of our police department. We have Night Out Against Crime, which is coming up in October. You know, all of these are ways that the community can show with us that, hey, we're not going to tolerate crime in our city. We want to work together to make this a safe community. So partnerships with businesses, churches, civic groups, schools is all critical and is a very important one of our goals.
Yes, sir. You mentioned businesses. We have a foundation, is that correct? It's called the Police Foundation?
We have a police foundation, and it is a number of business and civic leaders, church leaders that are directors of the foundation that are going out and trying to build up a foundation of money that helps us get things that during tight budget times we can't get. It's another way that the community can join the team and businesses can join the team. Just the issue of technology, and technology is one of our goals. High dollar items, and the criminal is keeping up with technology. If the police department doesn't do it, it's going to be extremely hard to achieve our goal of reducing crime. Yes. So the foundation is another way that the business and the community is supporting the police department.
Yes, sir. Now, the term excellence has a special meaning to you. And you've spoken to us many times about being an excellent organization, being the absolute best of the best. And that's what we aspire to here in the Newport News Police Department, being the best of the best. So that means developing a professional workforce. And that is one of our goals, to develop a professional workforce. What does that mean to you, sir?
The most important thing we have in this police department is our people. We have a great process for hiring the very best. I personally interview every single person that works in this company because we want the best. We want those that have passion, that have character, that are ethical, that have all of the right ingredients that's going to help us to achieve all of our goals. And it's going to take us to the next level. One of the questions that I asked a person trying to get a job here is, when you walked into the lobby of our headquarters, what message did that lobby send to you? And the answer is professional, businesslike. The people that I met were great because we have the person that sits at our desk is our vice president of First Impression, and she's the most bubbly woman that we have in this police department. And she's the first person you come in contact with. There's a seal in our lobby that has on it excellence in law enforcement. And we want to be the best. And we're constantly striving for excellence. And one of the questions that I asked is, what is your attitude of excellence? What leadership skills do you bring to our team? What's the most important word? Trust, communications, or teamwork? And out of some of those questions, I find out if that person is going to fit into the organization and is going to carry us into the future to be the best of the best.
Yes, sir. You mentioned a moment ago, and you just touched on it briefly, but you mentioned technology. And in the time that you've been here, there have been a lot of changes in this department. I mean, we now have computers in every vehicle. There are just a lot of technical changes, and those are really good for the agency. Would you like to expand a little bit more on those?
Well, technology is one of our goals, because if we don't keep up with the technology in the changing world, we're not going to be the best of the best. Technology is not cheap. You know, our phones change quicker than I can learn how to use all the gadgets on the phone. So having the best of, equipment from a technology standpoint is critical. Look at the phone technology. Look at computers and how now they're used by the criminal in carrying out their criminal enterprises. It's rare that we do a search warrant that we don't take a computer with us as a part of that search to find out the connections that those people have been making in the criminal world. So phones and computers is only one thing. Camera technology is the future of policing and preventing crime. Just look at, and you know this better than any of us because you review a lot of the tapes that come from crime scenes, how camera technology has helped us take the criminals off the street in this city. And without it, there'd be a lot of criminals still committing the robberies over and over and over until they get caught, or the larcenies, or the stolen vehicles, or the assaults, or the rapes. Technology has made us a better agency, and we've been lucky. You know, the city government has supported us, the community has supported us, and we've got good support through various grants to stay ahead of the curve. But as you well know, every year something new is out, or the technology you had is old. So having technology as one of our strategic goals is extremely important. Just trying to keep up with what's happening, what's changing. If you don't keep up with change, you're going to be left behind. So in that area, we want to stay up with what is occurring, and when we can afford it, continue to move forward.
Yes, sir. And I think we're doing that. We're definitely doing that. Our final strategic goal is communication. And you mentioned it just for a moment, but communications makes the difference, I think, between a good organization and one that doesn't function quite as well. So if you would, talk about communications for us, for the Newport News Police Department.
You know, our communication goal is internal communications as well as external communications. Internal, it's critical that all components within our organizations are talking to each other. You know that I have a staff meeting on Monday where the entire command staff knows what's going on in the organization in every component because it's discussed at staff meeting. On Monday afternoons, we all get together for our crime meeting. Some call that ComStat. But our crime meeting has every operational component within the organization sharing what's going on in their operations and what we are doing to fight crime in this city. What are our strategies for this particular week? What are our strategies for the future to deal with this or that? We have a number of analysts, crime analysts within the organization that are constantly communicating within the precinct. But at our crime meeting, those analysts come and have PowerPoint presentations for each precinct, for each operation to show what we are doing and how the team is working together. You heard one of my questions for hiring, trust, communications, and teamwork. And the question is, what is the most important word and why? Well, they're all very important. If you don't have trust and communications, you're not going to have a team. And if you want to have a team, you've got to communicate to be the best. So internal communication is critical for us to be the best, and I think we're doing a great job in that area. A lot of police departments don't do that. Sometimes the intelligence unit doesn't share what's going on with the investigative unit in the precincts. That's not happening here. We've got a robust intelligence unit was constantly looking at the big picture, what's happening in the social networks, and social media has really changed the way we police. So communications internally is critical. Externally, it's just as important. That's where our partnerships come. That's why it's important that the chief is out and about and talks to people, hears what's going on in the community, sees what's going on. And we have community officers in each of our precincts. We have officers in schools, and they are constantly communicating beyond the doors of our offices, and that's important. Communications helps to build trust, and that's critical in our business. And we have to work, because of our profession, we have to work on trust every day. It's critical. So communications and trust are the key ingredients to having a great team.
Our goals are well, it sounds like. We're working hard and we're getting things done in the department. But before I end this conversation, you know, recently we had a major weather event in the city, and it affected a lot of people. And police officers and citizens alike had to work together to try to get through that situation. How do you think our goals helped in that regard? I mean, there are daily things that we do goal-wise, but in situations like this, how do you think our goals helped?
I just think about communications.
Okay.
And building the trust. When we need help in a community, the community steps up to the plate. Community groups such as the Red Cross, groups that help in dealing with the homeless. There were just 2 groups that helped out in dealing with some issues during the storm. It's critical for the government team and all the various departments within the city to operate effectively as a team to deal with the issues. It was critical for our department to be ready. You know, our preparing for this storm happened weeks before the storm got here, and meetings increased as we got close to the storm. Just a prime example, and most people probably realize this, but some don't. You know, we go to 12-hour shifts. The entire police department is split in half, and there's always half of the police department working. That was critical when the lights go out. You know, we have police cars that sit outside of places that sell guns, outside of places that sell alcohol, in shopping centers where there's no lights to prevent the what-ifs that could occur. We just had a few businesses that were broken into during the storm. We had a few homes that were broken into. But our visibility in the right place, proper planning going into a storm was critical. But also the citizens step up to the plate. You know, when the lights go out, intersections don't have electricity. Can you imagine going through Oyster Point and Jefferson with no lights or no police officers directing traffic on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon just after the Saturday storm? So citizens having patience with us as we try to get things back to normal and working with us was critical. And I think Newport News government and Newport News citizens, as they always do, stepped up to the plate. And we weathered the storm, I think, as well as we could.
Chief, I want to thank you. Thank you very much, because we don't get a lot of time to spend with you. And before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to our audience?
Well, Harold, I would like to thank the men and women of the Newport News Police Department for what they do, and thank their families for putting up with us in this recent storm when none of us were at home. And I'd like to thank the citizens and the business leaders and the churches in our city for what they do to help us in making our city a great place to live. Without the support of the citizens and the communities, we would not be able to accomplish what we accomplished. So Newport News, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Chief Fox. And I want to thank each of you for joining us on Behind the Badge.